Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Morbid, Saint Swallowed by Hell, out February 9th on High Roller Records. The album has 10 tracks, 47 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are an American thrash metal band. A band that has released 3 records now across 34 years. Not very prolific, but they are very consistent. Not consistent in terms of releasing albums, but consistent in terms of what these albums offer sonically. This record feels like it's a blast from the past. This is not a band that has evolved through time. This is a band that's pretty much grew its roots in the early 90s, and that's exactly where it has been staying across nearly 4 decades. When you look at the design of this record, you see just that. A band that allows the album to stay very linear, very consistent, and very balanced from start to end. It doesn't really deviate. They don't add any extra elements in order to create ebbs and flows. It's more about a record that comes straight to the point, and every single song has a lot of aggression and a lot of intensity. So the album stays very balanced like that, but that's an old school style approach that obviously fits this band perfectly. Once you move into the sound, this sound is exactly what I was expecting. But at the same time, I was expecting a few nuances that perhaps would bring this record a little bit more to 2024. It's not the case. And I think in some points, in some of the elements of this record, it hurts the overall experience. It stays connected with the past, and that's fine. But nostalgia is just that, is nostalgia. And I think if you're just looking at catering to the fan base that you had back in 1990, 1988, then it's fine. But if you're looking at going beyond that, this album could have used a few touches in the sound and in the production in order to make it a little bit more appealing without necessarily losing the band's DNA. And I think in those two, the two main elements that could have used a little bit of work as far as the production is concerned, it's definitely the bass and the vocals. I want to start off with the bass because I thought that while it popping a lot is not necessarily a bad thing on a thrash metal record, on this album is a little bit too much. It becomes quite jarring and at times even a little bit dissonant when you consider the rest of the sound and when you consider how good the drums and guitars are. I don't mind here and there, I don't mind in key moments within songs, but to always have it feel like it's coming so much through the mix, it doesn't fit in with the overall aggression and the overall intensity of the record. It kind of dulls it a little bit, and it really sticks out. And while it works in certain moments, it doesn't work consistently throughout the entire album. What works consistently throughout the entire album are the drums and guitars. The drums on this record have a very good full sound to them, and I think that adds a lot of volume, it adds a lot of thickness, a lot of heaviness, a lot of aggression, a lot of intensity to how the guitars come across. Guitar-wise, this album is exactly what it needed to be. An album that's very aggressive, that has great riffs, that has great movement, that's very driven, and outstanding solo sections that always break away from the routine, that always break away from the overall mold and the overall patterns and designs of the songs. An old school element that works really well, that I wished actually more modern bands would use, but these guys did it extremely well. The solo sections on this record are some of the best. It really stands out and allows the guitars to stand out, and it gives the guitars a different platform from what you're getting throughout the rest of the songs, because throughout the rest of the songs, the guitar riffs and the sound being so driven, so thick, so melted into the drum sound almost as one, doesn't always give it room to shine. It doesn't always separate itself from the pack. So having the solos separating the guitars even further out from everything else, it's definitely a winning formula as far as I'm concerned. Now, the other negative for me on this record, or the other element that I thought could have used a little bit of work as far as the production is concerned, are the vocals. Not that I didn't like the vocal performance, not that I didn't like the vocal execution. What I didn't like is where they were within the mix. I felt like while they were not super deep within it, they were deep enough for the guitars to kind of feel like they were coming over the top, or at least you felt like they were slightly drowning in the sound on this record. Not overly drowned, like I said, not overly deep into the mix, but to me, too deep. Sometimes a little bit, it's too much. And on this record, that's exactly it. I feel for an album that has that kind of a bass sound popping through, for an album that has this sound this great guitar sound and great drum sound that works really well as one unit, but also allows the guitars to break away. I feel like the vocals needed to be slightly higher. They needed to be a little bit more distance, or at least a little bit above where the guitar sound is, so that they could punch through more, so they could be a little bit more of a focus point throughout this album. This production is exactly what I would expect from an album released in the late 80s, early 90s thrash metal scene. But we are in 2024, and I think you can evolve the band and you can evolve the sound by tweaking some of these production elements without really changing who the band is and their DNA. And I think when it comes to the bass and when it comes to the vocals, this album, production-wise, could have been slightly better. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Bloody Floors. Here's the perfect example of the bass opening and popping in that opening works really well because it allows it to stand alone and allows it to be the key ingredient. Where then it goes perhaps a little bit awry is that it doesn't fall down deeper into the mix. It continues to pop throughout the song. I didn't mind it too much on this track because of how it opened. It kind of set the tone, it kind of set the mood for that kind of bass sound throughout the entire track. But it's an old school thrash metal song that has heavy guitar, super driven, both musically and vocally. It's a song that moves really well. Drums and guitars working well together to create that aggressive sound, that aggressive experience, and the vocals give life to that same aggressiveness. The solo section adds a lot of energy. It breaks the mold of the song, but that's important in order to create some ebbs and flows on a song that otherwise would have been very linear. The chorus is very hooky and really completes the track. Next we have Burn Pit. I like the dark vibe that this song started with. It reminded me of Annihilator's Alice in Hell. Now, I like that dark vibe. My problem with this song is that it didn't keep that dark vibe throughout the entire track, and I was kind of hoping that they would have created this darker thrash metal song, which would have worked really well, and it would have created some more ebbs and flows on a record. Like I said earlier, is very linear and very balanced from beginning to end. Having said that, that darker vibe was so good at the intro that this song stood out enough for me to really make it one of my favorites. I like the sound, I like how it builds. It's a track that moves well, once again, very driven, heavy, compact sound, relentless at times. And then it has these backing vocals in the chorus that add great volume to the chorus, that really allow the chorus to stand out and give it almost a live vibe as far as the execution is concerned. Great solo on this track, and I feel like I said earlier, the solo sections on this album are definitely one of the trademarks of the record. Last but definitely not least, Pine Tuxedo. This is a very Slayer-esque style song in the riffage, in the sound, in the execution. This is a riff-driven track from start to end. It's all about the guitars. I felt like the guitars on this song broke a little bit more from that wall of sound that they create with the drums. It's still there, but they're breaking away more frequently throughout the track, which gives a different emphasis to the guitar sound, makes the song more guitar focused, more guitar driven, and it changes the elements and it changes the perception of the entire track. I really enjoy their take on Pine Tuxedo. Vocally had the right level of aggression, the right level of intensity when you consider the lyrics and the theme of the song, and then obviously that guitar driven sound that became the DNA, the main focus, the main dish as far as Pine Tuxedo was all about. This is it. This is Morbid Saint with Swallowed by Hell. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.